Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap, man. Oh, man, how pumped I am to be back here with you guys here on a big Monday, a victory Monday. Look, man. So I've heard some people talk about, like maybe I wasn't too convinced by the win. I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure if this was going to be I wanted to win bigger. I don't think I wanted them to score the 58 points that Alex said that they should score. Look, we're going to talk about all that stuff, and there were definitely some things that maybe could be improved upon, that could be learned about from this game. But man, it's a win. A win is a win is a win, and Texas, as of right now, controls its own destiny. What's up, Tex Guy 2? How are you, sir? JD Hack, great to see you. Blake Winfrey, Jay Ward, Chris Nelson, great to see all you guys getting in the chat, firing in super early. Awesome show we have in store for you guys today. Of course, we'll have the defensive rankings update. I've finished the deep dig for the defense. As usual, it's been a hair on fire, basically a harebrained thing to have to go through and do. What, Blake, what does harebrained mean? I think that just means kind of cockamamie, right? Yeah. Blake, look it up. I want to know the meaning. What does harebrained mean? I think it just means it's kind of I don't want to say it's useless. I can't see what that says.
It's rash, foolish, or badly thought out. Harebrained.
Maybe it's a little harebrained. Just spend my whole life doing this. All right. Also, we'll have reactions to Sark's press conference today, the Baylor week press conference. Thankfully, as Sark said, everybody knows the last time that Texas is going to have to play Baylor. I certainly hope that is true. We have a Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight, so we'll talk about if you have fantasy football questions or if anything you want to know about that. Make sure and let us know. We'll kind of preview that. We'll look at where the money percentage versus the bet percentage, the various lines in that. I'll let you know what the algo is saying as far as if you're trying to get on a side or a total in that game. We'll also go to Prize Picks and just we'll toss in some Prize Picks. We'll go have some fun. Couple of announcements too. Well, maybe like announcements, but something that probably you guys don't care about, but I think is going to be cool. Starting tomorrow, we're going to start integrating a new style of commercials every now and then, like the little breaks. Some new things to maybe spice things up a little bit, make it a little bit more fun, bring a little variety. So we're working on that. Also, we're figuring out merch. We're going to have merch. So, hey, right? Merch. Grab some hats, maybe some T-shirts. You guys can be able to buy them. I'm certainly going to wear them. I think that the prototypes I've seen look killer. Blake, I need to send these to you. But the guy is really good. And then we have also your questions. Okay, your questions. If you have any, just get them in the chat, and I will answer them throughout the course of the show. NFL thoughts from the weekend and today's topic: the best breed of dog. I know that we're all going to agree on that. Oh, people are already talking. People are already talking about it. Cody's saying we got dog. Cody Carpentier saying we got dogs in the house. That's true. Jay Ward 3-0 for the first time in how many years, and we're still have fans finding every little thing to complain about. Yeah, well, it's Texas. Blake Winfrey says Golden Retriever is probably the easy answer for best dog breed. I mean, what other type of dog can start for high school football and basketball varsity? Shout out Airbud. I thought Airbud was wasn't he a bull terrier? Or wait, that's Spuds McKenzie. For anybody old enough to remember, him. Yeah, Airbud for sure, man. Shout out Airbud. I was asking my kids what they thought the favorite dog breeds were on the drive home just now from class, and they said, well, everybody's going to say Golden Retriever. I said, well, that's just kind of probably the chalk. Let's see. Rich Harvey saying Black Lab. Tex Guy 2 saying a Jack Russell Terrier. Now, Jack Russell Terriers to me, Tex Guy 2 seem a little bit yippy. Have you noticed that with those those dogs? Let's see. Airbud Week. I'm sending him to the stands, says Rhett Moore. Oh God, Cody Carpentier going with his one of his Cavalier King Charles, like he has this little. Cody Carpentier is like a mountain of a man that walks around with the tiniest little frou-frou dog that anybody's ever seen. A Wolf Husky hybrid. Yeah, just it's fine to keep it away from my kids. Squarehead is Squarehead says a German short-haired pointer. That's a good one. So yeah, there's a bunch of different options here. Blake and I, if we can remember at the end of the show, we'll go over what we think the best dog breeds are. But certainly keep on putting them here. And if you watch the show later, or even if you watch it now, if you could comment below, that definitely helps people to find the show. Also, please like and subscribe. Also, just another bit of housekeeping before we get into it. Alex at rosterwatch.com is where you can email me if you're interested in sponsoring the show, have ideas for the show, would like to work with us, would like to send me photos like Jay Ward does that he says are inappropriate to add on the screen. I'm still not sure exactly what that whole thing meant. But anyway, great to have you guys here. Great start to the week, man. Texas 3-0. And before I even get into the Sark press conference thing, I hold on. One of the guys that stood up in my wedding was the creative director that created Spuds McKenzie. Wow, dude. We have a celebrity in our mix, man. They created the student party animal. His name is Spuds McKenzie. Wow. It was back when commercials used to be awesome. Good for you, brother. Okay, and before we get into all this, like this is a Sark press conference. I was having this thought last night because these are the things I think about as I'm going to bed at night because I'm a complete lunatic that thinks too much about Texas and football in general. And the fact of the matter is right now Texas is 3-0 heading into conference play. Texas is number 3 in the nation. Now, moving up to number 3 is something kind of interesting to me. And I'm like, I'm gonna be the last guy to come on here and talk. But like, I the formulas, like I have too many formulas and things going on inside my head. There's no way you could have me look at that thing and say, well, receiving votes here was this and blah, blah, blah. I don't know how that happens, but it doesn't matter. Texas could be 3, they could be 5, they could be 4, they could be 6, 7, whatever. But specifically, if they're in the top 4 right now, they quite, and I hate when people say literally when it doesn't need to be said, but you always hear about how teams can control their own destiny, right? Or how people can control their own destiny. And sometimes it's important just to think about what that actually means. Like what does it mean to control your destiny? Well, it means that if you go out and you take care of your business and you hold up your end of the bargain, there's literally nothing that can stop you from getting to whatever your goal is, right? Your optimal goal. And I remember like back at a point in my life when I was just like mainly just like broke, right? I just got done like trying to play music and stuff, and I did that, and like for a while we were making really good money, and we were signed by a big record label. We were on the tour buses, and we got the marketing advances and like all the rest of that stuff. But the parents, don't let your kids grow up to be major label rock guys, because what happens is that stuff goes away quick, and the label drops you. And next thing you know, all of a sudden you're having to work side gigs and do all this stuff, and the money's not the same. You're trying to get it all figured out, right? And that probably happened to me, but when I started doing this stuff full time, and I've been lucky that I've been able to kind of parlay connections and relationships that I've had during that time to be like, now I'm doing this, I do this full time. And it supports a family and everything else. But there was a time whenever it was like, I was just like, man, it's like you get really, really anxious and stuff. And you're like, what am I going to do? I've spent this early part of my career being I've been like doing this stupid music. And of course it was never going to be something I could do till I was 60. And it brings up anxiety in you and stuff like that. And it's whenever you listen to, I remember at the time, my mom gave me this like this set of like CDs that you could listen to about stuff like, and what she wanted me to listen to was these sessions that people would have about like how to, and they would put you, they hypnotize you, right? And it would supposed to be she wanted me to listen to the ones that were about like, controlling your anxiety or all the rest of that stuff. But I saw on there was like some from this dude, his name's Richard Bandler, and Dr. Richard Bandler, he invented neuro-linguistic programming. And his backstory is a whole wild thing on its own. But it's like, if I'd have known Richard Bandler's backstory before, receiving this material, I probably would have been scared to listen to his tapes because it's pretty unsavory. But he has helped a lot of people with this stuff. But the titles of his things were like supercharge your life or like design your destiny, like all this stuff. And you listen to him, and the things that stick in your head is you always remember, like, well, all right, well, when you're designing your destiny and you're laying it all out in your head and you're creating a pathway for yourself forward to your ultimate goals, you have to remember where you are right now, right? You can't just say, you can't design your destiny to go from being like broke and behind on your bills and getting your car repossessed and having credit card stuff and all the rest of that stuff to the next year making $100,000. It's probably not going to work like that, right? You have to understand where you're starting from, right? So in my situation like that, or let's say if a team right now is 0-3, 1-2, like a lot of these teams in the Big 12 are, they don't control their own destiny. For me, with Texas winning this game, they stay where they are. Like, realize where they are right now, right? Realize where they are right this instant. To be able to control your destiny and move forward and reach your goals, they're at the spot right now where they can do it. They can do it. They can achieve the ultimate goal, right? So there's a lot of games left. You can't look forward to any of them. You have to go 1-0 this week. But to the people that complain about I'm just like, man, they won the game by 3 touchdowns. They came away with a W. It's actually kind of a tough team. This team beat Tech. We're gonna get into some of the things that they did, but just remember, it's a good thing to be able to visualize your pathway forward and to be able to control your destiny. And you're in a special spot when you can do it in alignment with your most ultimate goals. And Texas is in that spot right now, so we need to just take time to always remember that. Okay, with that being said, let's get into Sark's press conference. Okay, so some of the things I noticed today. For one, Sark is just always so late. He's so late to these things. And when he walks in, it's like I noticed that like Bob Ballou. Blake, where does Bob Ballou work? I love Bob Ballou. He does the ALS golf tournament.
He's at CBS Austin, I believe, right?
Yeah. Old Bob Ballou, man. Just a pro's pro. Like he's just started showing up now at like 11:15. He's figured this thing out. Sark's gonna be 20 minutes late, but yeah, old Alex Loeb. He had to filibuster today. I think it was a 27 before he got there. And by the end, Alex Loeb literally looked at he showed the empty seat that Sark usually sits in for the press conference and just said, well, it's really happening. He's still not here and I'm out of material. So let's throw to the same Derek Johnson, Jalen Ford vignette from June that we show every week. But they did show some things that were kind of interesting. So first of all, the Baylor, they have not beat an FBS team in their own stadium in over 300 days. That feels kind of weird to me. Talk about a boy. Texas can't get decoupled from schools like Baylor soon enough. I've talked more and more about it. Another thing was the ESPN FPI. It now has Texas it has Texas winning every game. It had Texas winning every game last week, including Oklahoma, which it gave a 54% chance of that win occurring. But like, can you guys, Blake, or anybody in the chat, why today did it fall to only a 39% chance to win versus Oklahoma? What it's like, does anybody know? Does anybody in the chat know? Has Oklahoma really looked that good? Have they looked better than Texas? Does anybody really believe in that quarterback? I know that there are lots of college football personnel people that work on college football teams in the Big 12 and outside of the Big 12 that are not sold on him. Blake, is it Dylan Gabriel? Gabriel?
Yes, Dylan Gabriel.
I've heard a lot of people say, like, man, like what's all the hype about this guy?
Did you see Ketch getting in trouble with the OU fans over what he said in the post-game show?
No. What did he say?
He said Dylan Gabriel has done this his whole career where he just rips crappy teams, but when he plays the good teams, he doesn't really show up. And so, You'd see it on social media. It's been fun.
Well, I don't understand. I don't understand why it would go from a 54% chance to a 39% chance. So I guess they probably have some kind of analytics they look at where it's like third down conversion rates. And
this is going off ESPN FPI, right?
Yes. So what does that even mean?
That's just a ridiculous stat anyway. Like we looked
do they explain it?
Bama was still number 1 in the ESPN FPI. Like
after last week too, or
yeah,
no?
After they lost to Texas, they were still. I haven't looked this week, but they were still number 1. It's just a ridiculous ranking. Like it is what it is.
That's the other thing about Alabama. Like the thing that I've heard people talking about is and don't let anybody tell you that the way that Alabama's looked, the way that they looked after the Texas game in any way devalues that as a win. It just simply doesn't. You don't go into Tuscaloosa and win versus those athletes without having a very, very, very good football team.
Also, I don't know if you saw, but Jalen Milroe is starting the next game for Alabama against Ole Miss. So
he gives them the best chance to win,
right?
Yeah, he gives them the best chance to win. It's like they tried out the new guys. They didn't get the spark that they wanted. That's it. So one other thing. So they showed this is all before Sark even got there, right? Just some interesting kind of things that I noticed. One was Christian Jones. I'd forgotten about Christian Jones. What a great interview he's going to be for NFL teams. How much teams are going to like him. It's just like he in the post-game interview, and you guys might have seen this on LHN. I didn't see it. But man, he's just such a thoughtful and smart and just genuine dude. He's there. People are going to like him. He's like a warm, engaging, genuine, thoughtful, insightful guy. He's a guy who, whenever you couple that with this sort of nasty streak that he's developed, it completely belies the fact that he's like really smart, really understands what he's trying to do out there and can explain it in ways that are engaging. And I thought that it was like my opinion of, and I haven't done the offense yet, so maybe he played a terrible game. I don't think he did, but my opinion of him just keeps on going up and up and up. Like the more we hear NFL teams talk about him, and then you see the kind of guy he is, it's like, wow. It just looks like he's starting to become like the whole package. This is just another thing about the whole deal with the poor Alex Loeb, dude, just having to filibuster this whole time. It's like, to some degree, I don't feel that bad for him, right? He should have enough material. Like I have enough material usually prepared to come on and talk here for 2 hours every single day. He's got to do it for 20 extra minutes for, 1 day a week. It's like, whatever. But it's still, you could tell he's kind of like, the camera comes back to him. He's like, well, geez. He's like, well, Diamante Tucker Dorsey, like he's selling luxury homes, and this is one that I actually hadn't seen what DTT's doing now. Have you seen this one, Blake? Have you seen this little vignette? I hadn't seen it. Like, is this something
I haven't seen the vignette, but DTD reached out to me about in case I had a home I wanted to sell a while back. He was just letting me know what he was up to.
Oh, I thought you said he's gonna reach. I thought you might have said he was gonna reach out to you about sponsoring the.
Oh no!
Why don't we get Diamante Tucker Dorsey to sponsor it? He could come on
because we got Big Val.
Yeah, he could come on and be Oh, that's right. We got Big Val Garcia, but he's only a DFW.
That's true. That's true.
We also probably aren't going to become the show that's known for sponsoring solely realtors, right? We got to get a beer company or a hat company or something like that. Yeah. But we're about to have our own hats. I don't know. Dude, Diamante Tucker Dorsey, he sells luxury homes. These homes are like $6 million. They are super, super awesome. And he was given a tour to, I forgot, it was Tavondre Sweat and Jay Brooks, right? And he's kind of touring around with them, talking all this stuff. But they kind of talked to him a little bit about how he got into selling houses and stuff whenever he was kind of, why he made the decision. He's like, well, I played my last year at Texas and I'd realized that, I might not have been playing as much as I thought I should. And then, you gauge the NFL interest, and basically he got down to the fact he wasn't his career wasn't going to continue at the NFL level. So he said he went back to the time during COVID back in Virginia. I guess JMU is in Virginia. But he's saying that he got the idea to be a salesman because while he was a football player at JMU, like their star football player, he was selling Cutco knives. He was going into people's homes and like whipping out this thing of knives and saying, he was talking about how like they're great knives. They're super expensive, but all the rest. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is Cutco like multi-level marketing, Blake? Is that where you get people signed up underneath you and things like that? I think it's one of those. I'm not exactly sure. You guys might know more about.
I remember Cutco coming to my high school and trying to recruit some of us to sell the knives.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right. So I think you get people underneath you selling Cutco, whatever. But can you just imagine what a different life it is being a football star at something like James Madison and being a football star at somebody like, can you imagine Xavier Worthy going around to some dude's house and like setting up an appointment to come sell him a bunch of knives? It's like, I mean, it's just that kind of stuff doesn't happen, man. But old DTD, man, it's good to see him doing well. He sure is. Man, he's selling stuff. That one mansion was like a $5.9 million mansion. All right, let's see. Sark gets out there finally. He says that the game versus Wyoming, it was a versatile team win. He remarked how it was funny how he talked about like people who have their opinions about how they played on offense, how they played on defense. We're going to talk. Trust me, we're going to talk about all of it. But he said just the special teams has been super steady and super good. Maybe something that we don't do a very good job here covering, just because I don't chart the special teams. I've never played it. I've never had family who coached it. I wouldn't know the first thing about a technique for a punt gunner or what. It's sort of its own world, right? Like, I mean, far be it for me to like, oh, look, his angle for going in to kick the ball. Like, I don't even know what. Blake, do you know off the top of your head which hand the holder holds the ball in? Whenever he's got to put it down, like I don't even. Is it the hand closest to the goal or the hand? Like I literally don't know the smallest thing about the fundamentals of. I think it's probably the hand far. It's got to be the hand far because you got to catch it and then you put it down. So if you're right-handed, you catch it, you put it down. I think it would be your left hand that's closest to the kicker that you hold it down with. Right?
More saying right hand.
Yep. What is the Lake Travis water level?
629.8.
Did it go down again?
Dropped a little bit again. Didn't drop as much as last weekend, so we got that going for us. But it has yet to go up.
He talked. Sark's talked about defensively. There were 3 plays that frustrated him. One was, of course, and we'll talk like the long touchdown run. That can just make. I mean, at the very beginning of the game, the long touchdown run. He just said that. He said it was that one. There was the Keaton Crawford. I don't know what the hell that thing was. Wherever looks like he can get an interception, but he somehow decides he's going to jump as high up as he can in the air, throw one arm up, completely miss the ball, land on the ground in a prone position to where now he's completely out of the play and can't make the tackle. It's just, I have no idea what that was. I gave him a coverage burn in the deep dig for that because I was just like, what is that? And then, so Sark mentioned that was very frustrating. And then there was the other one he mentioned, and I think in my collective memory, I can remember it, although I don't remember the exact play. He said the third quarter scramble for the big completion on the conversion. And it feels like there's probably 1 or 2 spots like that I can kind of remember. I'm not sure the exact play. Maybe before I write the column, I'll go back and kind of look at that if it's something that I need to be highlighted. But he said that, we're not seeing he's like, you look back, those are the frustrating things, but the important thing is we don't see the catastrophic things happening, right? And I thought to myself, that run was a little bit catastrophic. It was. The defensive line did not get its gaps fitted up correctly. The pursuit to the player was terrible. Was it Barron Sorrell that missed a tackle on that one? I think it was Barron Sorrell missed a tackle where he could have possibly had him for only a 5 or 6 yard gain. But yeah, it was the downfield pursuit. It was basically everything that we saw in the second half's last game, where we said, what is it about this team that goes to the wind. It goes to the wayside in the second half of these ball games. Why can't they play with the same intensity in the first half with the same intensity in the second half that they play with in the first half? Why does Keandre Coburn's pad level get bad? Why are they getting pushed off the line of scrimmage? Why can't they fit up their run gaps? Why can't they take pursuit angles? And in a weird way, when I think back about it, was that a frustrating play? Of course it was frustrating. That's a bunch of sub-athletes that just made you look like a bunch of goobers, right? But on the plus side, Sark's kind of right. That was catastrophic. We haven't seen that much. Like there haven't. I mean, think about it. What are the catastrophic plays? What are the catastrophic defensive letdowns? They're the Burns versus Alabama. Those are to be expected versus athletes you're going absolutely toe to toe with. Maybe the one case that Texas is going to face all year where the level of athlete is just on an average scale. Maybe just a tick even higher, right? That's something to be expected. I can't think. I mean, can you guys think of just catastrophic plays like we saw last year, just over and over again? Deuce Vaughn, Jalen Warren, or not? I guess Warren was the year before last. Kendre Miller. The volume games too, like Xavier Hutchinson. Just, real bad stuff, but mainly about fitting up those run gaps. It's something that we haven't seen. So, yeah, man, it was interesting. Oh, the other interesting thing, Sark said there's only 52 offensive snaps in this game. So for that, we said, dude, the deep dig. We say, woo! Thank goodness for that, man. Offense is going to be in early this week. Look, we need to talk about what the rest of Sark said. We need to get to the defensive rankings. We're going to do it next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best defensive playmakers for the Texas program over the last decade. I'm talking about edge rusher Joseph Ossai. Ossai was one of the best players to come out of Tom Herman's 2018 recruiting class, although he was a low 4-star prospect who only ranked number 31 in the state by Rivals.com. Not a single recruiting service had him ranked as an elite prospect or inside of a national top 125 list. When we look at Ossai's recruitment, it was pretty cut and dry fairly early on that there were 3 schools that stood out above the rest. From the summer of 2017 all the way into October and November, Ossai kept a top 3 of Texas, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame. Of the Longhorns, Ossai said that Todd Orlando and Oscar Giles used the following sales pitch on him. Quote, "They tell me I could be that Nashawn Hughes type of player. When I watch some of these close games that they've been in, I can place myself in that defense and see myself making the moves to finish those plays. I watch how I could impact the defense and picture helping some of those close games be wins." The battle eventually turned into a Texas versus Texas A&M battle, with Tom Herman's staff taking on a Jimbo Fisher staff that had just replaced Kevin Sumlin. In fact, the Aggies had been considered the heavy frontrunner for Ossai, but the dynamics of his recruitment changed the moment Sumlin was fired from Texas A&M. It was the opening that the Longhorns dearly needed and received. In fact, by the time January had rolled around, Orangebloods was reporting from an A&M source that the Longhorns had taken the lead for Ossai. On the last weekend before signing day, Ossai took a surprise official visit to Oregon, but it still turned out to be a battle between the Longhorns and Aggies all the way up until signing day, when he eventually chose the Longhorns.
Well, hold on, wait. How about what about specs? Specs.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Football with friends is fun as hell. God, oh my gosh, Blake, I'm such a creature of habit. It's so disgusting. It's like we don't get specs after the first Joseph Ossai thing. And Joseph Ossai's talking about how he wants to be the next Nashawn Hughes. God, can you imagine that there was a point in time when he wanted to be the next Nashawn Hughes of all people? It's just It's just what?
I just love hearing it every day. That's my favorite part.
It's like I can really see myself in that Caleb Blewett role. It's like what? Okay. All right. Yeah, Specs, wine, spirits, and finer foods. World-class service that really is all about you. You can find it at Specs. Whatever it is that you need, red wines, white wines. That's what I look for. Tequilas, Miller Lights, but they have other stuff. They have gin if you're crazy about that. But also they have the little cookies and stuff. Do you know what they have at Specs that my son always says he's going to get, but then chickens out? Whenever you take your kids into, do people take their kids into Specs like I do? I'm not sure. Maybe they don't. But my son always wants to get it. They have the little suckers that on the inside have dead insects like scorpions and grasshoppers. So that's always a fun thing. Go into Specs, get those for your kids. Say, hey kids, look what I brought home from the most special place on earth. And if you want to, next time you can come with me too. And they go, Dad, what, Disney World? And you go, nope, Specs. And here's a sucker with a dead grasshopper in it. Shop Specs. Okay. You can try the chat lines brought to you by Specs. Visit specsonline.com. Please chat and please drink responsibly and please just chat relatively responsibly. Okay. If you guys have questions, you can make sure and ask me. The best dog breed is Huskita, half Husky, half Akita. Oh, South End Zone Queen. Do I ever have experience with one of these dogs? And I'm going to have to say that it was not my favorite. It was a half Husky, half Akita, and it was my wife's dog whenever we first met. So, and you know what? It's like, I'm kind of you guys know me. I write my show notes down on a sheet of paper, right? I like to, these are things that an alpha male does, right? And so whenever you're the alpha male, like this dog certainly thought he was, right? Oh God, he lived in an apartment full of girls for 4 years of college, right? This dog was the alpha male, the big dog, always petted on. Boston, come here. Moves in with me. Next thing you know, we get a little butting of the heads going on, right? This dog would, I remember it was always such a pain, man. He would do this stuff where he was a good guard dog, right? But he would go to the door and he would bark at the door when it would just be a random person out there, like a person that I would, like a mail carrier or something or a neighbor. And he just goes so crazy, it's like, fine, it's a good guard dog. But if you even tried to be the one to go open the door and just back him up, he like, there were times that he would bite my hand and stuff. I'd be like, are you kidding me? You just bite me in the hand? I think they got a little bit of an aggression to him. And somebody else said it's the hair. They're smart, loyal, protective, and huge. I get it. Do you know what chows were? Chows and Akitas what wasn't it over in Asia? What the royalty had to have them sit and guard the babies? They're big, scary, loyal dogs, right? And they are generally known for being good around kids, man. I'll tell you what though, man, if you're just an alpha male, you don't want a big alpha Akita Husky in your house because they will bite your hand if you try and open the door. All right. Let's see here. I'll bet Sark doesn't frequent Specs. I doubt he does either. South End Zone Queen says that hers hate children, unfortunately. So that's interesting. All right. Corey Peacock says on with the football talk. All right. Corey Peacock, focus. All right. Football talk. You want to talk some football? I can talk about football. Dennis Della Pena, he asked why Quinn was less sharp in this game. Sark said that every aspect of the passing game needs to improve. He said that there were protection breakdowns. He said, like, sometimes I didn't make the best play calls. He said sometimes Quinn just didn't make some of the throws that he should have. He's like, and then Chip comes back and kind of piggybacks off him. Blake, did they edit out Chip's question like they edited out Anwar's question where Sark got chippy with him last week? Have you seen?
Good question. I'm gonna have to look at the YouTube page and see.
Yeah, Chip, man, he kind of
got shut down.
God love Chip, man. Chip's my friend, but dude, he kind of asked Sark in this real whining way about with Quinn, was it like, was it something about something he was seeing, or was it for the air under the like all this stuff, and Sark just said, I don't know what you're talking about. He literally said, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said that the passing game wasn't good enough, And he's like, next question. So we didn't really get the answer there. I think it's pretty obvious though from what Sark has said on the thing before. He's like, yeah, he was frustrated with like he was frustrated with himself. He was frustrated with himself. And I think some of that stuff gets back to the whole Rice game conundrum about maybe just not underestimating these guys, but maybe not going in there with the same extreme level of focus that's really required and that everybody's completely bought into whenever everybody knows you're going to play Alabama. They need to find a way to bottle that up and make sure that they get it every week. Let's see. Okay, so the news, Christopher Ross, Cole Hudson, both of them should be back. It's within a month is what Sark says. So right guard Cole Hudson, sub package defensive end Christopher Ross, who's actually been playing more and more, playing kind of well. He even got a kind of an attaboy from Sark today. Those guys are out at least a month, but not season ending. But they are, quote, significant. So both those guys have some significant injuries. He didn't say exactly what they were. With Cole Hudson, to me, I'm not sure there's been reporting on it. I mean, it's clearly like it was either a knee or an ankle. That looked bad. I said he's done for the season. Whenever I saw him, just the amount of pressure that he was not willing to put on that leg. But they said, here's the thing about Sark is all right. So we have the news also. No one asked about Blackwell, but two people asked about CJ Baxter. And he didn't answer the first person who asked whenever Leah Van asked. So I was texting in Slack with Onwar. I'm like, hey, yo, man, like he didn't answer that CJ Baxter question. And do you remember he told us last week that CJ Baxter's at practice and he's day to day. And I told you guys, I said that for Sark day to day means week to week. He's not going to play. Well, with him saying about a month. To me, it's like this is going to be an extended period of time where I think what that means is like for him, he thinks about a month away. He's like, all right, by then we're in game set. He's like basically towards the end of the season, we might get these guys back. So, I mean, we can talk about what a world without Cole Hudson looks like. I think maybe that could be something that we could dive into a little bit more on the offense show when we start the offense on Wednesday. But speaking of what a world without Christopher Ross looks like, I mean, over the course of the last few games, if I look at the defensive player participation, so before he got hurt in this one, he had played 9 snaps in the game. But just if you look at the participation log, he was in to start the second series, right? If you like those packages wherever Anthony Hill comes in, those sort of more speed packages, like that is Christopher Ross, Byron Murphy, and who they like to have right at the very beginnings of games in that package is so at the defensive end, Christopher Ross, at the nose, Byron Murphy, at the defensive tackle, Tavondre Sweat, then at the linebackers, of course, Jalen Ford, David Benda, and Anthony Hill, sort of the flex linebacker, outside overhang linebacker. And then, your mix of DB, certainly Jahdae Barron at the nickel and Ryan Watts at the boundary corner. And then whatever I would say they probably like to have Jerrin Thompson at the boundary behind Watts, and they like to have Jalen Catalon at the field safety behind. Take your pick. Probably at the start of a game, it'll be Terrence Brooks, right? But Gavin Holmes still mixing in. We still have Malik Muhammad, who I guess Sark likes to call Manny Muhammad somehow. How do you get Manny from Malik? I guess I haven't heard about that nickname, right? You see a guy calling like Manny. I don't know. But anyway, I guess Manny Muhammad, but that's the look, right? So without Christopher Ross, here's how that's going to change. We're beginning to see something happen with Alfred Collins. And we're not going to have the Alfred Collins disco party, and we're getting to the rankings. But the Alfred Collins disco party doesn't come until he breaks out. And when he breaks out, I'm breaking out the tequila. I'm breaking out the hot sauce, the beers. And the spicy hot sauce, right? Like the last dab one from the hot ones, right? 365,000 Scoville units or whatever, right down the old gullet. Nash is coming on. Deal with it, glasses. Cody's coming on. He's going to shove his face with all kinds of different cuts of meat. Blake, what are you going to do for the Alfred Collins disco party?
I think we have to leave it a mystery until it happens.
Can you dress up as something?
We're going to come up with something. It's going to be good.
Okay. So we're not having it today.
Nope, not
But
today.
dude, he played a little bit. He played a little better. He's a little bit more effective. And I've been saying that his snap counts need to come down, and they still kind of do as a traditional defensive tackle. But guess what happens now in that sub package? What's going to be is they're just going to move 95. They're going to play 95 in there instead of 97. And so they're going to have it's going to be Collins at the end. It's going to be it's because Collins already plays at the end in the other sub package where Jett Bush comes in. There's not. I don't think that there's anybody else who they would get in that spot. The one guy that you could maybe see could be Barron Sorrell, right? Maybe Barron Sorrell comes in that kind of sub package. We saw Barron Sorrell in that sub package in the 4th series. I believe that was because Ross hadn't gone out by that point. So he was in that sub package in the 4th series over Christopher Ross. Once Christopher Ross went out, again, man, I just finished the deep dig today, so I'm talking things out the same time you guys, same you guys are. The next time, and we didn't even see the speed sub package even once in the second half. So that goes to show that maybe they didn't know who they were going to put in there for the Christopher Ross thing. We've seen one snap without him in it last game, and that was Barron Sorrell, though. So that's just something to probably keep in mind. What was it? There was some other things. So CJ Baxter, he said last week he thought he looked good last week, but we're going to monitor it. Like, and this thing with monitoring it means like he doesn't know. It's like he needs to see how things go and all the rest. It was interesting his answer to one of these questions, because there were just predictably there were a lot of questions about Jonathan Brooks, right? Big game from Jonathan Brooks. I haven't done the offense yet. I've watched it live, just like most of you have who haven't rewatched. He looked really good, but I thought it was interesting that Sark's like, I mean, he just came out and said it. He's like, well, it was a really cool thing for Jay Brooks to be able to get in there and have that kind of game and have that kind of opportunity and stuff, because he's a guy who at the beginning of the season, he comes in and, CJ Baxter's, he's ahead of him and he's the starting running back and all the, he just comes out and admits it. Like he would never admit that before. There was always an or between those guys on the depth charts. That was Blake, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've watched every availability. I sit here and talk about this team 2 hours a day. I'll microanalyze anything anybody ever says. Was there ever a definitive statement of the CJ Baxter's the starter of this team? I've never even heard it. And so he acts like, oh, well, everybody knows. It's like, it was a cool moment for him, especially come in. He's the backup, I was like, what? But he didn't say it like that. Of course, I'm always just paraphrasing, but the little things like that from coaches as they're talking, you can just kind of get an idea of what they're thinking. And I wonder if this game from Brooks, it's like with Sark, he always had he likes to have this one runner, and he likes to get one guy to 1,000 yards. And it feels to me like clearly he thought that feature guy prior to this game was going to be CJ Baxter. CJ Baxter's had a little bit of a continued pattern here with getting dinged up in games, missing half the game, missing the whole game. Now, we're into conference play now. Like, could this be? It's like we talk about genies getting out of bottles. What do you guys think in the chat? And maybe you should comment below, because you can subscribe, comment below if you're watching this later. But yeah, I please comment below and let me know, should Jay Brooks now be the bell cow back for this team? Even though Sark has said that clearly, there was something happened in the fall to where everybody kind of thought that CJ Baxter was going to be the starter. Was this good enough? It's a hard thing to wrap your mind around. So we'll just see this week, and I'm sure on Thursday we'll get a little bit more clarity on that for sure. So he's saying, so who is this? Catch the Wave X, a new maybe a new commenter I've never seen. Welcome into Football with Friends, brother. Thank you for joining. He says that JB is RB1. I don't know. These guys are saying Jay Ward says he's always known him as Manny since his recruitment. Well, like I said, I don't call up teenage boys at night and ask them what their nicknames are. Let's see. Jareth Mulholland, welcome back, brother. So good to see you guys. South End Zone Queen, Jay Ward, Rhett Moore 7. Jareth Mulholland. I think Brooks should at least take the lead role and let CJ work back into the rotation. Maybe he's earned that. Maybe CJ Baxter would have gone for 250. It's just, you don't know. Hey, we're gonna have to monitor it. All right, I'm gonna take the Sark way out. Whenever you guys ask tough questions that I'm not sure the exact answer.
Regardless, you feel pretty good about the Texas running game through 3 weeks, though, don't you? Like I do. I'm pretty confident in both those guys.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that CJ Baxter's had a bunch of plays where you're just like, whoa, like there's something to see here. It's just he's never been able to rack up the volume. That's part of this, Blake. It's part of being you know how it is being a runner at this level, and why I would always get so tilted under Tom Herman. The way he would use Bijan, I would just be like, Are you kidding me? You need to let, like, with these runners, it's like these offensive tackles and these defensive linemen. It's like there's a dance that goes on. There's a take, there's a push, and there's a pull. You have to let them get a feel for the flow of the game and the way that the defense is moving and the ways that they can exploit it with their cuts up field and their leverage and all the rest of it. I don't understand like how you would not want to just get one guy going. So to me, that's always been but then on the flip side of that, it's like, well, Alex, but how are you going to keep him? How are you going to keep him healthy for all the games? And it's just another thing. It's like, well, we'll monitor that question too. Like, I don't know, I don't know, but I think that they struck I feel like they struck a pretty good harmony with that stuff with like Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. Now, those were two very complimentary players. I feel like Baxter and Brooks are a little bit more redundant than those two. Bijan was just such an uber talent that any player is going to be ancillary and complementary and satellite to him, right?
Of course.
I at this point in his development, CJ Baxter is not Bijan Robinson. He's a high level talent, but the way he runs, his running style, the stuff. It's like Keelan Robinson is an ancillary complimentary back, right? He does things that these other guys don't do. Savion Red, he does things that they don't do.
Speaking of that, using Savion Red in the fourth down package was interesting. What do you think about that? The direct snap to Savion Red picking up a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah. I remember from the game, man. But like I said, I just like it's been a whole thing with the defense today. So we'll talk more about Red. I don't even know what we're talking defense. What are we even talking about this Jay Brooks stuff? We'll have plenty of time to talk about this when we talk about the offense. Okay. Because the reason is because we're going through the press conference, right? Going through the press conference, Blake, come on. So Thomas Jones from the Statesman, he asked about the spot opposite of Watts at cornerback. And when you guys see the rankings, man, you're going to see that Ryan Watts just keeps moving up these rankings. He's now, I believe, a tier 1 player on this team. And it's just like it's been rightfully earned. No, he's in the top of tier 2. He's the very top of tier 2. He's the number 3 player on the team right now. And I couldn't believe this, but I looked at my chart and I think he didn't allow his first completion this whole season until this game. It's been thrown out like 6 times. He didn't allow his first completion until this game. He's been shut down, man. He's been really, really good. I think a lot of this, we need to get it out of our head. We need to keep in our head a lot of the things that Jim Nagy said. But one of the things that Jim Nagy said about him needing to play safety, I'm not sure that that's true. I think he's faster than Nagy gives him credit for. He's rangy. He's good. He's sticky on these guys. He can flip. The thing he said about his hips is what I don't like. He can flip his hips and run really, really, really well. And he played all the snaps until the backups kind of came in. Now, so what happens with Watts is when he plays the boundary corner the whole time, right? At the very end of the game, when it starts being a little bit more backup-y, Manny Muhammad comes in for him. Number 5 comes in for him at the boundary. So Manny Muhammad is Ryan Watts' direct backup at the boundary. Okay. If something were to happen to Watts, I feel like number 5 would be the one to go over there and play, because number 9, Gavin Holmes, he doesn't ever play on the boundary side. He plays on the field side. Terrence Brooks plays on the field side. But Manny Muhammad also plays on the field side with the starters, right? So he's one of these guys that's getting to work with the starters right now at that spot opposite Watts, but is also Watts' direct backup, which to me means next year you start penciling out who the starters are going to be. I think that even though he plays less than the rest of these guys right now, he's played better. He's played better this year. Where's he in the rankings? So yeah, Malik Muhammad is ahead of he's ahead of both those guys in the market share rankings, far ahead of them in snaps per production caused. That is Gavin Holmes and Terrence Brooks. And so even though the snap counts aren't there, he's played 71 on the season, whereas, it's still early in the season, but Gavin Holmes has played 82. So he's played a few more snaps. Terrence Brooks has played 91. So he's played probably a good half a game's worth more snaps at the level that these guys play at. The odds on favorite to be a starter next year would be Muhammad, because he at least is the direct backup to Watts right now at the boundary, and he's working in at the field. So, which is good news. He's a good player. Sark said that rotation over there, he says he doesn't feel like he's like, it's fine. Right. So how did they rotate this last week? Look at the defensive player participation. So the guys we're talking about, let me filter this by position here so we can get to them easier. Okay. So this is how it's looked. So Gavin Holmes versus Rice, 56.86% of snaps, versus Alabama, 37.5% of snaps, versus Wyoming, 42.65% of snaps. Malik Muhammad versus Rice, 52% of snaps, versus Alabama, 31. So what do we say about Holmes? 37. So we're looking at 37 versus 31. Versus Wyoming, we're looking at Holmes at 42, Muhammad at 35. Terrence Brooks plays more than either of them because he always starts, right? So he played 47% of snaps versus Rice. Both those guys played more than him versus Rice because he just played with the starters. It seemed like once the backups were in, both those guys kind of mixed in as the dudes who stepped in as the presumptive. Because Gavin Holmes probably on the depth chart right now is behind Terrence Brooks, right? Technically. Manny Muhammad is behind Ryan Watts right now, technically, but they're all three working at the field corner. Alabama, Terrence Brooks played 51% of snaps. So he played, so 51% versus 31 versus 37. He played 50% of snaps versus Wyoming versus 35% of snaps for Muhammad, 42 for Gavin Holmes. So those guys are, but you look at Ryan Watts and he played every snap. He played 72%. He played all the snaps until they started getting in guys like Sadir Mitchell and Aaron Bryant and Jamon Tapp and, I would say Derek Williams, but he actually played a little bit earlier in this game than you would have thought. Derek Williams, that dude shot out of a cannon sometimes. He's going to be, that's another guy we'll be talking about as a possible starter as early as next year at the safety. But he said it's a lot like the right guard. I guess now it's different at the right guard because Cole Hudson's hurt. But he says it's a lot like it was. He's like, I was like, I don't really see a need to go in there and tap some dude on the head and say, you're the starter. He's like, I kind of like it. They're all they all need work. They're all getting run. There's good things we see about all their play. We're getting a chance to evaluate them in real time. I think that shows a couple things. It shows for one, they're all playing at a level that the staff thinks is suitable. And they're like, well, if they're all playing at this level that we think is suitable, maybe we'll kind of cater game plans to match up with specific body types, right? Maybe if you got there was somebody in the chat that had this good point the other day about maybe they're going to have Gavin Holmes whenever they face one of these guys that's a 4-2, track burner star, or they put Muhammad over there when maybe you got to be a little bit. I mean, both Muhammad and Brooks can be physical, but there's probably things about their games that they understand. It's like, well, we're going to be clouded this week. So if we're going to be clouded, we can't have Jay Brooks do it because he's going to give up outside release. There's a million things that they probably think about with this stuff. And they can utilize their knowledge of these players to be able to get them in the best positions to win, but also just get real evaluation reps on tape because they're going to have a big decision to make next season. Two of these guys have to start. So, and the other thing, I know we're mainly talking defense, but there's the other thing about Cole Hudson, and somebody asked about NATO, Omiazulu, and what does this mean for him now? Does he need to be, does he need to step up? Does he kind of become part of this? What do you think? Is it something where is he ready to go? I forget exactly what it was. Who was it who asked? It was somebody who I didn't know. Man, all these new guys coming along, man. Some of them I don't know. He said that NATO's close, right? But he stopped short of talking about him as someone who's like ready. Just something that's kind of interesting. We did talk about whenever NATO did get in the was it the Rice game, that there was there's some things about his game that were, he looks like he's close. I'm not sure he's going to be ready, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of DJ Campbell. He did talk about DJ Campbell, and he said the exact thing that I've been telling you guys ever since I've come on to this show. And I know we're talking defense, and I know we got to get to the grades, but we got to get through the rest of what Sark said so we can set the table, get ready for the grades. We can take them all in on context, right? So we're going to do that next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at arguably the most high-profile recruitment in the history of the Texas football program, at least until Arch Manning came along. Yes, I'm talking about former Texas quarterback Chris Sims, who was the nation's #1 ranked prospect when he came out of New Jersey in 1999. Sims took a look around all over the nation early in his recruitment, visiting the likes of Ohio State and Penn State, before eventually setting on his top two. The two UTs, Texas and Tennessee, were his two finalists. After taking an official visit to Austin in the fall of 1998, the Longhorns appeared to be poised to land Sims, which partly helped steer Eli Manning, who also visited Texas in the fall of 1998, to Ole Miss. Yet, when Sims announced his decision on December 15th on the MSG network, he picked the Vols over the Longhorns. Matt Brown later admitted that the Texas coaching staff was shocked by the news. Quote, "I'm proud to be a Vol, and it's a good place for me," Sims said upon his announcement. "I'm a big fan of Coach Fulmer, and I think it fits me right. I feel so relieved, and I can finally get back to being a high schooler and enjoying myself." Yet, the truth of the matter is that Sims wasn't really relieved about the decision, and word got around quickly that he was wavering on his commitment to the Vols almost as soon as he made the announcement. I can remember talking to a Texas source on January 1st of 1999, just before the Longhorns played Mississippi State in the Cotton Bowl, that the Longhorns were going to flip Sims away from Tennessee. A few days following the New Year's Bowl game, Sims called Texas assistant coach Tim Brewster to tell him that he was having second thoughts. Less than 3 weeks later, Sims sat down with his parents, Diana and Phil, you might have heard of him, to reevaluate the decision. The next day, he called Tennessee head coach Phil Fulmer to deliver the news. Sims said, quote, "The hardest thing I ever did in my life. The first thing he said to me was, 'Chris, I'm down here in Alabama recruiting you the best receiver in the country,' end quote." One day later, Sims made things official by flipping his commitment to the Longhorns, which helped cement a #1 overall recruiting class for Brown and his coaching staff. It proved to be a game changer for the Longhorns, as evidenced by the commitment of the big three wide receivers in the following recruiting class: B.J. Johnson, Roy Williams, and Sloan Thomas, as well as paving the way for Cedric Benson's commitment to the Longhorns in the 2001 recruiting class. Ultimately, it was one of the great recruiting moments in the history of the Texas football program.
Football with friends. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Man, I'm so happy to be here with you guys today on a Monday. Kind of sound like how do I do a radio DJ voice? I need to get some sound effects and just be like ding, 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 like ring a bell for a Monday, like the start of a boxing match. Everybody's getting ready to go, man. You got to go win. You got to go win the week, right? It's so good to see you guys. Oh goodness, we got Barry Sorrell in the chat. Hey, I have something to say about Barry and Sorrell. Barry Sorrell, did you miss anything? I don't think you missed anything. Let's see. What did I think I might have accidentally pinned his message. I'm not sure, Blake, if you can fix that for me. Let's see. There we go. I look forward to Alex Brew. No. I mean, if anybody deserves criticism, they'll get it. I think Barron's played better than people said. Barron played well this last game, but I mean, let me just talk about this before we'll get into the grades. But Barron's, I mean, Barron Sorrell's playing at a higher level right now through the first 3 games of the season, just from an efficiency standpoint, than he was last year in 2022. And I know it's only been the 1 sack, and he finally got home, but people would probably be interested to hear. I mean, through these, and remember, starters didn't play at all versus Rice. So basically through a half a game versus Rice, a whole game versus Alabama, and then this Wyoming game. I mean, the dude has had the 1 sack, but he's also had 1 quarterback hit and 5 separate quarterback pressures. It's not like he's not getting, not like the guy's not getting anything done. But yeah, he did make a big move up the rankings this week, and we'll talk about the rankings here shortly. The thing about doing these rankings is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy, and it reminds me of the struggle that some people sometimes have to go through when they're selling a home. And whenever they do, the last thing that you want to do when you're spending all this time and this energy and all this focus, and you're having to pack up your family and do all the rest of this stuff, is worry about paying a bunch of extra fees. What if I told you that Val Garcia is going to sell your house for free? Oh, God, look at Val Garcia. That's the smile of a man who knows he's going to sell your house, and he's going to do it for free. If you are a teacher, if you work in the ministry, you are Val Garcia's kind of person. You can find him at Valen Realty, valenrealty.com, and his phone number is 469-647-8729. If you told him you heard about Valen Realty and you're in the now you got to be in the DFW area, you got to be a Football with Friends listener, and you got to be one of us. Okay, you got to be one of us. Okay. Because Val Garcia you're going to love working with him. You're going to have his direct phone number, but you're also going to have access to all of the resources that he has around DFW. And we're talking all around DFW. Okay. So if you know a teacher in the DFW area, if you know somebody in the ministry, most importantly, please have them call Val Garcia. It would be such a terrible mistake to waste $12,000, $15,000, $18,000 on the sales side of your transaction. And if you're in DFW and you're just a listener of this show, why not have somebody sell your house for half price? He takes care of putting it up on MLS, setting up the open houses, getting you ready to get staged, just doing all of that stuff. One hell of a guy, too. He says all he does from 8 till midnight is just talk to clients. He loves talking on the phone. He loves to gab. He's a great guy. Val Garcia, one of us. ValenRealty.com, and the phone number 469-647-8729. I'm thinking about calling Val Garcia up after the show just to talk to him. I mean, that's how cool he is. I'd love it if that guy was my realtor. Anything else for the press conference, Blake? I don't know. Like anything stand out to you? I don't have my notes. Kirk Bowles talked about Kirk Bowles asked him if it's weird that like this year you're like finishing all the games. And people are, now we're coming in asking questions about how do you start faster and stuff. It's like you can't ever get it the way that you can't ever get it the way that you want it. But yeah, so there was that. Somebody asked about Gunnar Helm. Oh yeah, he said I've been trying to praise him as much as I could. He started the season off really well. He says he's tough, he's blue collar guy, he's workmanlike. What are the only things that he didn't say, Blake? He didn't say gym rat. He didn't say coach on the field.
Does he carry his lunch pail out there?
Lunch pail guy. Yeah. Gunnar Helm, man. He's good. DJ Campbell. Jeff Howe asked about him. He said that with DJ Campbell, and dude, this is the exact perfect way to say it. I could just, instead of writing the deep dig, I could just quote you Steve Sarkisian's message on DJ Campbell, because it's exactly right. What I've always said about him is the reason why he grades really well, but he has high snaps per disruption, is because when he's on, he is on. He's an animal. He's a maniac. He's a Tasmanian devil. He's a small bear, right? Whenever he's off and he makes the frustrating plays, he can make plays that'll really frustrate you. What he said was that his exact quote, or close to his exact quote, was that I think there's been some really good moments in a handful of plays each game where there's that frustration of you're better than that. It's perfect. That's the exact thing you say about DJ Campbell right now at this stage of his development. And look, as we move forward, I feel like we talk about we just circle all the way back before we get into the defense rankings. We started out the show talking about the what was it? Oh, like controlling your destiny, designing your destiny. All that stuff starts with understanding where you're at right now, right? And so with DJ Campbell, what we just need to understand is where he's at right now. He needs to understand what he needs to do to get better. And once those little things get fixed, it's like once he gets in that plane to where he can control what he's doing, you're gonna have a guy that's starting out at just such a high baseline. I mean, we're talking all, first team, all Big 12, kind of literally. He plays guard, so I don't know if we're talking like first round NFL pick, but man, he's got the talent to be talked about like one of these super elite guards in college football. He really does. I've seen so many of these guys. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands. DJ Campbell's got it. But Sark says it perfectly. A handful of plays each game. There's that frustration of you're better than that. Defensive rankings. All right. Any questions I need to get to first, or anybody said anything about dog breeds, just so I can make the people throw stuff at their screens, saying talk about football, Alex. I'm here talking football for 2 hours. I like to hear about the dog breeds. Not really here. Let's see. Great route runner, plays the game the right way. It's all that stuff. All right, no questions. No questions from you guys. No super chats. I'll tell you what you can do. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Will you comment if you think that my hair looks too orange? I'm not sure it looks as orange as it has recently, but it still looks a little.
No, it doesn't look as orange as it did last week. That's for sure.
Yeah, just if you comment below, just say Alex is a crazy redhead or whatever you guys want to call me, or you can say, look, Alex, I think your hair looks fine.
Scale of 1 to 10 in the chat. How red is Alex's hair?
Or
we
how
did this last week to keep track of it, but
yeah. And if you could comment below, and I'm asking specifically for comments below because those go into the algorithm and help people find the show.
Indeed.
Which also helps us find sponsors. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, you can email me, alex@rosterwatch.com, or if you have any questions, any comments, anything that you would like to say, get off your chest. If you're Jay Ward, he's still asking about this creepy photo that he sent me. I haven't gotten it. What are people saying the numbers for? Did I ask about that? Did I ask how many numbers?
That's the scale of 1 to 10. How red your hair is right now?
Oh, don't comment in the chat. Comment below. Comment below. I don't want to read how orange my hair looks right now. Jeez.
All right, hold on. RC's asking about Gilbo. We better get to the grades.
Okay, Gilbo played one snap. I know that for sure. But he did come in before Austin Jordan. But it was only for one snap. All right, you guys ready? Deep Dig 2023. Share. All right. So the first thing that we'll look at when we see this is that we see, what did we talk about last week? We talked about how these guys in the top 3 tiers, specifically the top 2 tiers, were a dark blue shade. And as we mentioned, right, the snaps per production, this, oh God, that's going to piss me off. Sorry, guys. I just got to do one thing here just real quick. I have to center these because some of them are centered and some aren't. Let's see. You can just tell what a. All right, thank you. Golly, isn't it funny that just really bothered me? This right over here, the snaps per production caused. That's a metric of efficiency, right? That is a metric where you can say, okay, if David Benda, Jerrin Thompson are up here at the top as far as their overall production for the team this year. Both of them are, hovering right at 8% of the team's total production. We've gone over what all goes into the metrics with the production. If you'd like to hear that again, instead of having me rattle it all off for people who are maybe watching for the first time, you can just go back and watch the show from last week on Monday. Oh God, maybe Lord knows where and my rambling around about this stuff where I would have explained it. So look, it just takes into account a bunch of different stuff, right? It's a proprietary formula that I've used for 13 years. And one that I was taught by NFL evaluation guys, specifically on the pro scouting side, whenever they're looking at players on other teams that their teams might want to look into, and on practice squads and stuff like that, or maybe once they become free agents. And last week, so let's just look at, so just take it, just don't even look at the names, don't look at anything, just look at tier 1 and tier 2 right here. It's pretty blue, right? It's still looking good. And that's what we talked about last week, where volume meets efficiency, because this thing goes from the lowest snaps per production cause, meaning the fewest snaps between the times that you cause production on the scale, right? Tackles, assisted tackles, sacks, pressures, QB hits, TFLs, run stuffs, pass breakups, blow ups, interceptions, batted passes, lockdown bonuses for the corners. There's, touchdowns, defensive touchdowns. I can't even think of them all, and then you get points taken off for things like missed tackles and blown contains and penalties and coverage burns and completions allowed and stuff like this. Well, if we look at how it's kind of color coded here, it's color coded in a way so like these are volume grades, meaning the guys who play the most snaps are generally going to be the guys who are the highest up because they have the most chances to be out there creating production, right? But the reason we have the snaps per production is so we can see, okay, they're out there a lot, they're producing a lot, but how efficient are they? And why it's good that it's blue is because the lowest numbers are color coded. You can see down here, like Austin Jordan, homeboy asked about Jalen Gilbo. He's only played 15 snaps this season, but when he has played, he's been good, right? Look how blue he is. He's in a sea of red down here with all these guys. And look, he's generating production once every 4.19 snaps. Austin Jordan's only played 12 snaps, but he's played 12 really good snaps, right? This can kind of give us an idea about guys who might have some upside as far as playing more, or at least guys who, at least once they get on the football field, they've been efficient with their snaps. Whenever you have that marriage that we had coming out of the Alabama game last week, and what we have to some degree this week, I mean, certainly it still doesn't always look like that. It doesn't look this blue at the very top as far as the volume rankings. But if you look at just last week, see, do you notice how it's like a little bit more blue? Blake, is that coming through? Like, can people tell what I'm showing there?
Yeah, they can see it. Are you able to zoom in just a little bit? Like a Control Plus, or I don't know. There we go. Yeah. That's better.
Okay. So is that going to keep for all of these? Let me just make sure. All right. Yeah. So see these?
Perfect.
They're pretty blue, right? They're pretty. They're pretty blue. And like we said, here, let me go. Let me just go to the 2022 deep dig and show you how it looked at the end of last year. Right. So I can show you how it generally looks, because you generally have some of these guys that are these volume dudes who are maybe not as efficient, but they're still at the very top because they, like we said, they have the extra time on the football field. And just because they're at the very, so let's see. So that would have been not the production sheet from the bowl game. Baylor was the final game last year. So it would have been the Baylor final production sheet. All right, so just look at this. Last year, like Jalen Ford was the 2022 champion, but you see you see here, it's like all these guys. You get to some of these good dudes, and like say Ovi Agwofu or some of these guys that have been out here just a bunch of snaps. Ryan Watts last year wasn't playing very efficiently. Anthony Cook. Some of these guys, you get some of these guys who just weren't super efficient players last season, right? You get to the 2020, you look at 2023. The good news is all the dudes are still super high, super high efficiency volume guys. We've gone through the whole exercise of saying like, okay, like where was Joseph Osai? Where was Hassan Ridgeway? Where was Malcolm Brown? Where was Malik Jefferson? We could go back and look at even guys. I would wonder what it would look like, for those teams with, like Kenny Vaccaro or, some of these guys that were just, super efficient volume players, right? All of these guys have these and those numbers for those guys who play like that and go into the NFL and all that. It's anywhere from the super, super low of like a 5.8 or something like that for the Hassan Ridgeways of the world, to like the Malik Jeffersons of the world and stuff like that, the Deshaun Elliott's, these types of players, to where they're in the sevens, but those guys are always dotted in with the Ray Thorntons, who's only generating production once every 22 snaps or whatever, but he's had so many snaps that he's still generating a good market share of the team's total production. We're still seeing this. And I told you guys after Alabama, it's going to be a spot where the efficiency can't stay married to the volume for this long. As long as we're seeing some of the most efficient guys on the team still up here in this range, we're going to be looking real good. And Texas, as far as I'm concerned, they looked really good on defense versus Wyoming. As far as the overall rankings, we'll get to those, but I think that the two guys that probably stood out to me the most were clearly Jerrin Thompson. Whenever you have the opportunity to make, it's like he kind of stood out to me. He picked off a pass and ran it back into the other end zone for a touchdown. So it's like, it's just a big game changing play. That's going to help you out in the stats, because that's basically like you get the pick, you get 3 points for that. You get the touchdown, you get 6 points for that. It's basically the same as making like 6 solo tackles or getting like nine pressures. It's like 9 solo tackles, or 5 tackles and 4, some kind of 4 pressure game, or the same as getting, be like having a game where you get 3 solo tackles and 3 sacks, just an absolute monster game. So he shot up to the top tier, basically, since we're on such a small sample, by virtue of one play alone. But clearly it was him. And then just the other guy, Jahdae Barron. He is just what an open field tackler he is. What vision he has, like what control of his body he has to be able to come in so fast, lightning quick, break down effortlessly. I mean, effortlessly, and then get a lot more effortlessly than it is for me to say that word, effortlessly. just to break down, get his power base, and to be able to spring and to be able to just spring into guys with just this change of direction and this power. Getting his helmet across the body, wrapping up, and making 3 killer third down stops on throws out to the boundary, not necessarily out to the boundary, just you know what I mean, throws that are designed to stress you horizontally, right, and get guys making mistakes coming downfield. And for him to just say like, no, on all three of these, you're not going to convert a third down. You're not going to do it. It's just, I mean, it's something else. That wasn't all he was able to do, but I think what's just interesting, man, is this stuff about David Binda. And so David Binda, as of right now, is at the top of the rankings. And I think more than anything he did in this last game, it's just about, what he's been able to do through the course of the season. So if we look at, that's 2022. So go back to 2023. As far as the tackles, he's one of the team's tackle leaders. But he's been doing he's done some other things too. I mean, let's see, in the Rice game, he didn't play much, but remember he had the half a sack in that game. He also had the blow up in that game on the pass over the middle. It wasn't to McCaffrey. It was to I can't remember what it was, but I do remember the blow up. In the Alabama game, it was a bunch of tackles, a sack and a half, a run stuff, and another PBU. And then these are plays that this stuff starts to add up when you add on the volume tackling being involved. I know people complain about his coverage and stuff, but for the course of the first 2 games, he had 1 PBU and 1 blow up. And then versus Wyoming, what did he do? It was his best tackling game by far. What does Texas have him at for tackles? I wonder, because my numbers will always be different from Texas. So Texas has him at 6 total tackles. I have him at how do they have him at 6? I have him at 2 solo tackles and 6 assisted tackles, along with a half of a TFL separate. So we're talking a guy that's just a big time volume tackler, one that every game he manages to just dot in a bunch of really cool sacks and TFLs and pass breakups and blow ups and run stuffs. Just he's been a really good player. I'm not sure how long he's going to stay at the very top, but it feels like this was more of a movement this week. And you guys have to understand. I spend all day doing the data, and so I don't really even get to think about why things are the way they are before I present them. Part of this is just me talking through it, so I get ready for the column. I'll write the column later. It just feels like to me though he probably won't stay through there because Texas has these guys that are just right underneath him that are such flashy players and guys that are due for regression. We talked about Barron Sorrell earlier. I mean, the sacks are going to come for that guy, right? Ethan Burke, a little bit of a down game this game. The sacks are going to come for that guy. Anthony Hill, it's every week. Our expectations should almost be higher and higher and higher. Anthony Hill played a killer game this week. Jerrin Thompson, it's obvious to see why he's at the top. Like I said, it's kind of on the back of one giant play, but he moves up 10 spots in the rankings. So that'll be tier 1. As far as tier 2, it starts out at the top with Ryan Watts, and we talked a little bit about him. He moves up 1 spot from number 4 to number 3. He's played 122 snaps this season. He's generated 7.38% of the production. He's on his snaps per production caused. He's sitting at 7.47, which is pretty. I mean, that's pretty gnarly for a cornerback. And the reason why it's so high is because he gets his lockdown bonuses. And he doesn't get points taken off for allowing completions because they don't really throw it in much. This was the first game where they did. I think he was targeted 4 times. Was he targeted 4 times? The good news would be if I had this data right here, which I do. Sort by position. So no, he was thrown at twice and he allowed 2 completions in this game. But I think that was the first time he allowed a single completion all season. Let me see. Alabama disruption versus Alabama. He was thrown out once. He didn't allow it. He didn't allow that completion. Versus Rice. He was thrown out once and he didn't allow a completion. So through those first 2 games, he was able to rack up those lockdown bonuses. He's also been active. I mean, versus Rice, he had a blow up. In the Alabama game, as far as his what was that Alabama disruption sheet, it was he had the PBU on the 1 target. He also had like five tackles in that game. Then this last game, just a good volume, another good volume tackling game with the disruption sheet here. Yeah, just a really good volume tackling game where he also played a lot of snap volume. He played 74% of snaps. He gets 74% of his lockdown bonus. He's been by this system, and all we can do is compare it to previous years. And I'd be interested to see like 7.47 for an outside corner. Let's just see which outside corners of the past have operated at that kind of level. So the Market Master sheet from last year. So just do this by guys who've played enough volume so Watts last year, for example, on the whole season, 678 snaps he generated production once every 12.24 snaps. And Deshaun Jameson generated production once every 12.22 snaps. They were the 2 team leaders as far as outside corners in that metric. He's at 7.47 right now. We're going to see the big 2021. We'll just go back during, say, Sark's time here, but maybe not. Like I'm kind of interested. Like, is he having one of the efficiency seasons of the last couple years for a corner, at least to start? And there's a game versus Alabama mixed in there with it. So the Market Master sheet from last year. Sort by position. Go to the corners. Okay, so Jahdae Barron on 216 snaps when he was playing in 2021, mainly at outside corner, was at 8.29. Deshaun Jameson that year was at 10.88. Darian Dunn, do you remember him? 10.32. Josh Thompson, NFL player, 11.14. So no one's better going back to 2021 for what he's done through. So we're going to keep going until we find somebody who was better over the course of the season than the 7.47 snaps per production cause that Ryan Watts is sitting at right now for the Texas Longhorns. Of course, using the deep dig historical data. Sort by cornerback. Josh Thompson that year, once every 18.9 snaps. Jalen Green, remember him, once every 32.2. Deshaun Jameson in the 2020 season, once every 16.59. No other qualifiers, so none there. Let's go to the deep dig in 2019. In 2019, go to the market share rankings. That's for the bowl game. Here's the master one. We had Kobe Boys. Kobe Boys and Donovan Duvernay this year had negative generated production like once every 589 snaps. Okay, that year, the volume guys that year were Kobe Boys, who was just, God, was he really? No, I hate the Kobe Boys as you're catching strays, but God, man, it's a bad season. Anthony Cook played cornerback in 2019, 411 snaps there. Generated production was every 18.24. We're comparing this to 7. What was it, Blake? 7.74? I've gotten, or was it 7.47? I need to know exactly. All right, 7.47. Okay. So Deshaun Jameson, 11.76. Jalen Green, 18.69. No other qualifiers. All right, we're gonna keep going. 2018. Go to the market master sheet. Just go by cornerbacks. Okay, that year we had Anthony Cook play 139 at corner, once every 10.51. Devontae Davis, 560 snaps, once every 10.94. Chris Boyd, 782 snaps, once every 10.41. NFL player. Chris Brown, 10.13. Josh Thompson, 14.22. Let's go to 2017. 2017. Ryan Watts is having a year. Sort by this. Okay, that year we had. Here we go. Here was the last time it happened. We found it. So that year, Holton Hill played 583 snaps, generated production once every 6.52 snaps. Do you want to hear what Holton Hill did that year? And I know people complain like crazy about Holton Hill. Do you know who loved him? Mike Zimmer, who's interested in the, he definitely had some off-field stuff, but he saw what was there in him. And in that season, Holton Hill had 31 solo tackles, 24 assisted tackles. He had half of a TFL. He caused a fumble. He was thrown at 42 different times. He allowed 16 completions with no coverage burns for a completion percentage of basically a 38% completion percentage, which is unheard of. He had 7 PBUs. He had 2 interceptions. He had 3 blowups and 2 touchdowns. And he was at 6.52. So Ryan Watts is having that kind of year. And he hadn't had any touchdowns or hadn't had anything remotely like that. So we're here trying to do the defensive rankings. We've gotten through 4 players. Clearly, we have a lot to get to, and we will. Next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at a player that was the first commitment of the TCU class of 2020 and became the last signing of the Texas 2020 recruiting class, with a little stopover in Waco in between. That's right, Texas senior defensive back Jahdae Barron had one hell of a recruitment before eventually developing into one of the most important remaining players from a somewhat disastrous 2020 recruiting class. For those that might not remember, Barron finished as a mid 3-star prospect in the Rivals.com rankings while finishing 79th in the state and 72nd in the country as a cornerback. Should note for the record that I had Barron ranked as a 4-star prospect in my rankings and the number 30 overall prospect in the state. When we look at his recruitment, things really started to heat up following a junior day visit in February of 2019 to TCU and Gary Patterson. After visiting on the junior day in February, Barron committed just a couple of weeks later, citing that Patterson's track record of developing players was a big reason for his decision. Yet a little more than a month later, Barron backed out of his commitment to Patterson, primarily because his offer list started to take off shortly after his commitment, with the likes of Oklahoma State, Tennessee, and Arizona jumping into the mix. Before his decommitment, he actually took an unofficial visit to the 40 acres, although the Longhorns didn't offer. Fast forward to June 22nd, and Barron announced his commitment to Baylor. From that moment on, all the way through the rest of signing day, Barron was solid as a rock to the Bears, even in the aftermath of the departure of Baylor head coach Matt Rule. Things changed for Barron in April as he asked for Baylor to release him from his national letter of intent. Quote, "Thank you to the Baylor Nation for embracing me," he said on Twitter. "Today, I requested an official release from my NLI to Baylor and will begin looking for a new school to pursue my athletic dreams and career goals." 8 days later, Barron committed to Tom Herman's Texas Longhorns. Flipping Barron was a huge win for defensive backs coach Jay Valai, who had only been in Austin for a few months when he landed Barron. Barron was the 20th and final signee to a 2020 recruiting class that finished 16th in the nation. While Bijan Robinson is famously remembered as the headliner of the class, Barron was one of the 3 lowest rated prospects in the entire group, according to Rivals.com. Of the 2 players ranked lower than Barron, one of them was none other than All-America linebacker Jalen Ford.
Football with friends. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Oh, man, we're having some fun here today, going through spreadsheets and looking for snaps per production allowed dating back to the year 20. What did we look at? 2017, whatever it is, man. Ryan Watts, having one heck of a year. Of course, I have my sheet. I feel so very naked without my show sheet that I can wave around at everybody. But listen, I know at the very top of the show sheet, it's where is my show sheet? I am a little bit tilted. I sat down and wrote that thing down with a pencil like an alpha male, and now I can't find it. Regardless, at the very top, it says to remind everybody, please like and subscribe to the show here on YouTube. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, smash that subscribe button. Do I sound like a YouTuber? Oh, and please leave a comment down below. It helps people find the show. Another thing that helps people find the show, or another thing that we're trying to do, is get some new sponsors. So please email me if you're interested in sponsoring the show. My email address is right down there under me, right above the lake, probably down at definitely, I think that the lake would probably be receded right now if it was taken to where you wouldn't be able to see much blue at all. All that stuff right here would just kind of come right down to there about where you see my name. But regardless, we would love to have a conversation with you if you're interested in sponsoring the show. Okay. My show sheet. Where is it? What are we even talking about, Blake? We need to talk about we need to talk about did I walk off during the thing?
Must have been a gust off those hills. Blowing it away.
No, that's from the other day. That's okay. Look, who needs show sheets? But really, where could it have gone?
We'll do it live.
Yeah. Okay. So Cody was asking about Chris Boyd, where he was on that whole list. Cody in 2017, Chris Boyd generated production once every 14.06 snaps, so twice as often, or 2 times less often than Ryan Watts has done through these first 3 of this season. Well, I wonder if was he here in 2015? hold on. Let me just see. 2016, Chris Boyd. Yeah, in 2016, he played 612 snaps every 12.21. Ryan Watts is playing well, right? That's kind of how we see it. We'll get through the rest of these guys in tier 2, and whenever we get through them, we'll get to the sub replacement dudes tomorrow, because I do want to go through and put in a prize picks lineup for these games, mainly because right after the show I got to leave for my son's football practice, and I won't be back in time to get to get any of these in myself. So I want to look through there and get them in. So we'll talk over the doubleheader here in a second. But back to the deep dig. So underneath the rankings now, underneath him, Jalen Ford falls 3 spots. That's just a function of Jerrin Thompson moving up a ton, Ryan Watts moving up a little bit, and Jalen Ford just not having a monster volume tackle game. I don't see any issues with Jalen Ford. He's great. David Benda's ahead of him in the rankings right now. I don't necessarily think that David Benda is a better prospect than Jalen Ford. I think that Jalen Ford's going to be just fine, and he'll find himself right up at the very top very soon. He was last year's champion at the end of the year. These things will fluctuate, and at the beginning of the season, they can fluctuate a lot, again, because the sample sizes are so small. Once we get like 5 games under our belts, there's no way that the guy like Jerrin Thompson is going to be able to move up 10 spots. That would be absurd, right? But right now, what they're doing is they're sort of setting themselves up for where they're kind of where they're sort of, some of these guys, we can sort of see where their baseline is. Anthony Hill, we don't know where his baseline is, just because he's such a dynamic player, and he really didn't play that much in this game. I think 24 total snaps, but on those 24 total snaps, just active in a whole lot of different ways that might not come across in a traditional stat sheet. We talked about how Barron Sorrell had one of these games where you look at it and you're like, well, if it would have been, he did have 2 missed tackles, and Sorrell's another guy who didn't move up this week, but he's still clearly somebody who belongs in the with the frontline guys. It's just it's hard, even with the sack, whenever you have a guy, even to move up 1 or 2 spots, when you have a guy like the Jerrin Thompsons that end up just vaulting everybody, and that takes away your chance to move up 1 spot, right? You have guys like Anthony Hill, who moved up to 2 spots. Ryan Watts moved up a spot. Jahdae Barron, with the game that he played, moved up 5 spots. But Anthony Hill specifically, the way that he was able to move up 2 spots, and look, everybody else here in this first couple of tiers is guys who've played at least, outside of Byron Murphy, who's played 90 snaps. All these guys have played at least 106 snaps. Jalen Ford's played 142 snaps. Anthony Hill's right underneath him, and he's played 68 snaps. He's generating production once every 4.39 snaps. And I would say that that's unsustainable, but I said it last week, and he's kind of stayed the same. He's kind of stayed the same. The role that they have him playing in is awesome. We've worried so much about Anthony Hill, about what, why isn't he going to start, right off the bat, an inside linebacker? Why don't you split and play edge? And Sark's like the meme of the girl. He's like, why don't we have both? Why don't we have both? We play him at linebacker, play him off the edge. We're going to he's a talented guy. He's got a lot of talents. We're going to put the talents to use in a lot of different ways. He's so good at coming downhill and stuffing the run and just finding. He's just the way that he can find the run lane, right? Fit it up. He's very good. And look, being behind guys that can eat up these double teams like Devondre Sweat and like Byron Murphy, it certainly helps, right? It really does allow you to be Johnny on the spot, right place, right time. But dude, it still takes a lot of instinct and a lot of skill to be able to scrape over into those spots cleanly, come into them, engage, and just dominate the way that he does. And then off the edge, you guys, I don't need to tell you about that. He's got excellent bend, excellent flexion through his ankles, through his hips, good length, a cat-like, pouncing closing ability. In this last game versus Wyoming, the reason he moved up was because he had he got 4 total points for tackles. He had the quarterback pressure, and he had two elite separate run stuffs. He did also miss one tackle in this game, but terrific efficiency from him. Also here at the very top, so T'Vondre Sweat falls 1 spot to number 6, while Byron Murphy falls 4 spots to number 7, and that's tier 1 and that's tier 2. With Byron Murphy, why did he fall? Did he just not have I don't remember much from he had the one big quarterback hit at the end, right? Blake, he had the quarterback hit at the end, right? I remember that. So Byron Murphy, yeah. So I gave him in on 3 assisted tackles, 1 QB hit, 1 separate run stuff. I mean, that's a pretty good Byron Murphy game. I think it's just these guys that kind of move up, and these efficiency guys, and he's still a great frontline player. But now, Sweat's back ahead of Murphy. Sweat's back ahead of Murphy. This guy's gonna be duking it out all season, man. Good players. It's good defense Texas has right now, and we haven't even gotten into the tier 3. Like, how about we'll get into talking about the tier 3 guys and the big movers here. The fact that Barron Sorrell has been just he's been a real steady Eddie. This stuff with Ethan Burke, where he moves up all the way up, he fell back down 3 spots this last week. He wasn't as productive as we've seen. It was a little bit disappointing considering that. And if Barry Sorrell is still in the chat, maybe he can just tell us, like, it looked to me like that number 72. He didn't get to go up against that right tackle 72 quite as much. I'll bet you he would have liked to go up against that guy a little bit more often. I was right about him. Blake, where did he come from? Justin, Texas? Is that what I said?
That's right. Yeah. It was Justin, Texas.
Yep. I was expecting Ethan Burke to do a lot more versus that guy, just with the way that, versus Tech, at least the way that he was just allowing these dudes who kind of looked a little bit like Burke just to convert speed to power so easily against him. That being said, Burke didn't play as much this week as he usually did. What did Burke play? See, these things just come in my head. So Ethan Burke, edge. Yeah. So last week versus Alabama, he played 48.44% of snaps. This week, he only played 35.29% of snaps. Part of that had to do with the fact that they went to that Jet Bush package a whole lot, where they put Collins at the jack, and then they have their interior guys, and they put Sorrell at like the kind of like a pseudo like Buck, right? Since he's the better mover than Collins, but it's a run stopping package wherever Jet Bush is if you see Jet Bush out there and it's not total backups, they're in a true 4-3 where he's the outside linebacker in their run stopping sub package. And they just played that a whole lot more this week than they normally do. The way you can tell that is just if you just look at Jet Bush's snap counts. Look at him versus Alabama, right? Where we know that him playing coming in as a true backup doesn't account for it because, versus Rice, Jet Bush played 60% of snaps, but that's because he's a sub package guy with the first team, and then he comes in and he plays all the backup snaps, right? Because he's a backup. If you look at the Alabama game, where you just we get a good idea here of because Jet Bush didn't play in any capacity as a backup this game. When the backups came in with the linebackers, those were Leonga Lafau and those were Anthony Hill, right? So we just know that versus Alabama, clearly no backups. They were in that sub package then 20.31% of the time. They were in that sub package versus Wyoming 47.06% of the time. We did so a lot more of that one this week than there was last week. And that also that has effects on Anthony Hill as well, because clearly he plays in the other kind of sub package when they're expecting more of a speed game, more of a let's go get after the passer, all that kind of stuff. So looking at the production for the rest of those guys, that's where we have it. Sweat, Murphy, Anthony Hill, Jalen Ford, Ryan Watson, tier 2, tier 1. For now, David Binda and Jerrin Thompson, with the caveat there being for this week at the very top, it feels a little bit more fragile than usual, because Binda doesn't feel to me like he has the same kind of iron grip that some of these dudes that kind of run the whole gamut as far as staying number one. It's kind of staying the king of the mountain, and simply because he doesn't profile that much differently from Jalen Ford. He's just had these couple of games with these extra ancillary stats peppered in, and if he can continue to do that, then he might. With Jerrin Thompson, it feels like he moved way up on the basis of one play. Still a good player. Good player, man. These guys are good. They're efficient. This thing is staying blue right here at the very top, and that's what we want to see. Tomorrow we'll get into the tier 3 stuff with all these guys, and then we'll talk about the players who are playing at a sub replacement level or who might have moved down into there. Of course, the tier 3 starts out with Jahdae Barron, who's just we've already kind of talked about his game, but he's up 5 spots, and he'll continue to move up. You get Jahdae Barron, you get Ryan Watson, you get 2 guys, you get your nickel and your best corner operating at 7.47 and 7.1 snaps per production caused, just from just an efficiency standpoint over the course of the season. You start feeling real nasty about things, dude. So that's all good. All right, Blake, what do you say we talk about these NFL games tonight?
Let's check them out.
All right, so I'm going to go to my account over at Roster Watch, pull up the premium tools, and just look at where the money's moving here in these games. Of course, we have the New Orleans. So these games kick off at 6:15. We have the Saints at the Panthers. The Saints are 3-point favorites here. 68% of the tickets, it looks like, are on the Saints laying the 3 points, but only 39% of the money. So once again, my immediate thought about this game is the wrong thought. I'm just like, oh, well, of course the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints -3. It looks like that's the fishy public side that the sharps are betting against. So take for that what you will. Oh, the Circuit Millions this last weekend. Once again, I hit 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. 60%, dude. First 2 weeks. I think that there's some old boys out there in Las Vegas that might give their left what for that kind of start. The other game is the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game you can either get at 2.5 or at 2 points. The Browns are favored, let's just say on FanDuel by 2.5, on DraftKings by 2, but let's go by the FanDuel numbers here. 57% of the tickets are on Cleveland -2.5, 48% of the money. Over-under in that thing sitting at 39. Both of these have putrid, you little puny over-unders. I'm going to go to Prize Picks, log into my account. Blake, can you put up that Prize Pick stuff? What is it? Use promo code Orangebloods for some kind of.
Exactly right. 100% deposit match up to $100. I'll pull up the graphic too.
All right. So let's see. Prize Picks. Is that the right one? No. Here it is. All right. Share. All right. So we're on NFL here. Let's see what we got. How do you think this game's going to go, Blake? The first one. Carolina, New Orleans. The first thing we'll need to keep an eye on, and wait, have inactives been announced? Cody, have inactives been announced? And do we know whether or not Kendre Miller is going to play? That's kind of a big deal, actually.
I'll pull it up right now. Kendre Miller.
So, all right. So let's start by looking at the matchup.
I'm seeing Kendre Miller out.
He is
inactive for tonight's game. I'm seeing.
What about DJ Chark? Is can you look and see if he's in?
DJ Chark. Let me
see. Chark. The wide receiver for the Panthers.
Chark. Update is playing. NFL rumor says is playing.
Okay.
Tonight.
So Carolina here versus New Orleans. They have
DJ Chark is active.
It looks like this is bad matchups across the board versus New Orleans for the Panthers. So the matchup tool has this as the number 30 matchup for opposing quarterbacks, the number 12 matchup, the number 24 matchup for opposing. So out of 32, 1 being the best, 32 being the worst. It's color coded just like here. I'll just show you guys. I'll put this back in a second. It's color coded just like the other, like I'm colorblind. That's something you might not know about me, but to red and green. And people always ask, like, what's it like to be colorblind? Can you not see color? And I'm like, of course I can see color. What are you talking about? Like, you said you're colorblind. I'm like, well, I'm not. I mean, I can still see color. You can see these are pink and blue and red and stuff. It's just if you give me a big scatter plot of stuff where there's a bunch of colors, the doctor makes, he's like, what do you see of this? And I'm like, I see it's a bunch of dots. He's like, you don't see an 8? I'm like, what? There's an 8. Like I can't see any of that stuff. But it's really the reds and the greens that mess me up. So our tools and the things I make, it goes from blue, the best, to white to medium to red is the worst. So Carolina, right here, it's a bad red matchup for quarterbacks, a pink matchup for running backs, a red matchup for receivers, or the worst matchup for tight ends. So that's going to take me off of Hayden Hurst, who's Cody's favorite guy, I know, and a guy who we got a lot of last week in DFS, a guy who we got a lot of using our cheat sheets for season-long leagues at Roster Watch. But I'm going to be off of him in this historically brutal matchup versus the Saints for tight ends. As far as what the Saints face at Carolina, geez, look at this. So this is what you call a funnel, right? So 20 right here is just on the border. So we're looking at this game, right? New Orleans at Carolina. It's a tough matchup for opposing wide receivers, a tough matchup for opposing tight ends, a borderline tough matchup for opposing quarterbacks, but an elite matchup for opposing running backs. The problem is there's no Kendre Miller, there's no Alvin Kamara, and Jamal Williams is a total slug. The fact is, though, behind Jamal Williams, all they have is what? Tony Jones, Kirk Merritt, that used to play wide receiver. So what's the more or less on Jamal Williams' rush yards? 58. God, he is such a slug. Can I click Jamal Williams? What is his fantasy points?
Such a slug.
He's good, dude. He's gonna get 17 touches. He's gonna get in the end zone. So I'm gonna go with this 11.5 fantasy score. He had 17 touchdowns last year. So if he gets in, and it's a good matchup for all those guys, but a bad matchup for everybody else. The thing is, even with a bad matchup, Chris Olave is so good that he's going to get more than the 69.5. These numbers are depressed. 69.5, 50.5, 39.5 for Rashid Shaheed. DJ Chark sitting at, God, it feels like DJ Chark will go over that. But is he going to be matched up on Lattimore? It's the slot where you can get out. Who's going to have more than 30.5 yards is Adam Thielen. Now that he's back healthy on the other side of this one. Feels like Michael Thomas, slant boy. If I'm not that big on Olave, what is his receptions total actually? That might be the one that I want, just so he can. Is there a receptions market on Michael Thomas? There's not, because it's going to be too good, right? Juwan Johnson's going over 2.5 receptions, though. You get him in here.
You able to switch the window over to Prize Picks so we can see what you're
am I not on there? I'm sorry, dude.
You're good. There we go.
You could have all things you could have told me 5 minutes ago,
well,
boy.
it was up and then he switched it and then we needed to switch it back.
Am I not on Prize Picks? Okay. My bad. Okay.
You're good.
Can you see? So I'm going with the more on Jamal Williams, the more on Thielen, the more on Juwan Johnson. This other game tonight, what did we say it was? Oh, Cleveland at Pittsburgh. No Amari Cooper. Are they going to have anything on Elijah Moore or any of these other guys? Elijah Moore is going way over 39.5. Golly, I like that better than all the rest. Donovan Peoples-Jones is going over 34.5. Because if we think about it, we're taking Amari Cooper out of the game.
We got Cody saying Thielen 2.5 is a hammer. Let's see.
Thielen. What about Juwan Johnson? Is that Cody saying that? What does he think
Cody
about Juwan?
Thielen 2.5 is a hammer. 4.0 and Michael Thomas.
4.0 receptions.
Yeah, that's what I think he was talking about.
Yeah, I was hoping we would get something like that. Laviska Shenault 3.0. Well, man, it feels like shouldn't Miles Sanders catch? What did Miles Sanders have last week as far as his receiving numbers? Miles Sanders, week 1. Yeah, Miles Sanders last week. He had 6 targets. He caught 4 balls for 26 yards. Of course, he's going over that. So let's get that entry in. $20 to win an easy. Just to win an easy 500.
Nice.
The only correlations I really have here is just basically Jamal Williams falls in for a touchdown. Adam Thielen goes over 30.5. Or wait, it was 2.5 receptions, wasn't it? That was what we wanted. The receptions on Thielen. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God, that feels good. Okay. And all these are more. All right. 21,500.
It's a lot of mores.
Yeah, it's a lot of mores.
What you want to see?
I'll go through and make another one here in a second. Then we got the draft. We're not gonna have time to make a DraftKings lineup. No one cares about that. Do what they care about? Best dog breeds. Let's talk about it.
Man, I'm just towing the rope on this one, but Golden Retriever I think is a clear number one. I think in general Labs probably number two for me.
People say there's a big difference between the different kinds of labs: the chocolate labs, the yellow labs, I guess is there a brown?
Chocolate lab.
Black lab, chocolate, yellow. Now I've known a chocolate lab really well. It was an awesome dog. It feels to me like the yellow labs are maybe a little more lazy.
I had a yellow lab that was pretty lazy. Yeah,
feels like the black. Yeah.
But the Golden Retrievers are all the same.
The only black lab I ever knew was he was a good guard dog though, man. Kind of a little bit meaner and not quite as goofy as the others. A little bit more.
Not as good. I think you're right on the black labs. Maybe not as goofy.
Chad Gibson says a blue healer. Border collie or blue healer. But here's the thing about it, man. It's like I don't want to invite a dog into my house that might end up being smarter than me. Those border collies, you can hand that. Those border collies can solve a Rubik's cube. You know,
we had an Australian Shepherd that was like that. I always thought he was outsmarting me at every turn.
Yeah, growing up, I had a Great Pyrenees, and he lived outside. Like it was funny. It's like we would have allowed. I mean, we would have allowed him inside, but he was so weird, man. We got him from like the stock of like one of these. Because I think Great Pyrenees, you can get the ones that are like the working kind of.
Those are big old working dogs, yeah.
Right, and so, but like from the very beginning, once we started letting him outside, we gave him like a little area where he could sleep, like under the porch. Mm-hmm. He would stop at the door at the threshold, and you couldn't even yank him inside. He's like, no, that's for people. That's not for me. Great Pyrenees is a great dog. What the hell is an Australian Kelpie?
I was wondering the same thing.
Like, Jay Hack, man, you got some kind of Australian Kelpies out at your ranch? You need some working dogs, son. My most recent dog that just died was a Rottweiler. Man, she was awesome. I think that those female Rottweilers are a little bit different than the male Rottweilers, though. They look different, you know. But I think they also. Oh, an Australian. Oh yeah, all right. Well, that looks like a
cool dogs.
Click on on one. Looks kind of like an Australian Shepherd a little bit. Click on that one that's down. Over. That one.
This one?
Yeah. Oh God, that's a jacked up one, huh? Yeah, I like those. Here's my biggest question. It's about the shedding, right? I told you guys earlier when South End Zone Queen was talking about this. I did have a Chihuahua mix. I had a Rottweiler. My buddy Byron, my business partner at Roster Watch, he's had, pit bulls. I can't do pit bulls. I just feel like I'm not even going to talk about pit bulls. they're way too. That's like coming on here and talking politics or something. That's going
to end up on.
I'm not going to do it. Just for matters of insurance and things like that. I'm sure.
They even said bread of peace.
Yeah. Just like I'm not going to do it. But my buddy Byron at German Shepherds, dude, they blow out their hair. They shed just so bad, and I'm just, is it okay for me to get a Labradoodle?
I think it is. I think it's okay.
Like a golden doodle. Just keep everyone happy. They don't shed.
Yeah.
My wife won't complain. I think it's fine.
The shedding thing.
Lord knows the kids want one.
Oh, I bet they do.
We didn't even get to we didn't even get through half the defense, Blake. We got more defense to get to. We're gonna come up with
we got 8 more hours of content this week, Alex. We're good.
We're gonna come up with an exciting new topic to talk about tomorrow, and we'll also round out the defense. Talk a little bit about your waivers. I hope you guys went out last week, like we told you, and picked up Puka Nacua and picked up Kyron Williams in your fantasy leagues. We're gonna have more of that insight, more of that fantasy gold, and of course, more digging into the deep dig here on Football with Friends. Of course, it's always fun as hell. So for our great sponsor, Val Garcia, for Blake, I'm Alex. We're done.